Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
Another hot one here in St. Louis under the watchful eye of the Hall of Famer Bob Gibson and the gateway to the West, the St. Louis Arch. The Reds and the Cardinals wrap up this three-game series here tonight at Busch Stadium on Fox Sports Ohio. And hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to Reds Baseball, along with Chris Walsh and Jim Day. I'm Jim Couch. Reds try to win this series here tonight in St. Louis. They won one here last year. Try to do it again tonight. Reds have played, Chris, very well since the All-Star break, and the key theme to the 14 wins they've had since the break is the man at the top of the order, Billy Hamilton.
Well, he was not at the top of the order early in the year when the Reds were struggling because Hamilton was struggling. But since the All-Star break, if you start looking at the batting average numbers for Billy Hamilton when the Reds win, you realize that this guy has really been a catalyst, getting on base, getting things happening on the base pass. When the Reds win a game since the All-Star break, in those games, Billy Hamilton's hitting .362, on-base percentage like Joey Votto, 7 bases on balls, and man, oh man, is he ever running the bases.
And he's crediting Joey Votto for a lot of the good work that has been happening with him, and Jim Day will have more on that a little bit later on before this game starts. Now, we turn to the pitching matchup tonight. Anthony DeSclafani makes his first start of the year against the Cardinals. He faced them 3 times last year and was very good in all 3 of them.
Well, he was 3-0 against the Cardinals last year. That's about as good as you can get, and he's been throwing the ball very well. Coming off an outing against the Pittsburgh Pirates where he did not get a win or a loss, but he threw the ball very well. 3-0 against the Cardinals, as we said. But I see it with DeSclafani. He has walked multiple batters in his last 3 games, but he's got really good swing and miss stuff. And this year, the hitters are not swinging as much at things in the strike zone. So I don't know whether he's hiding the ball better, whether he's got a little more oomph on the fastball. We'll see how it goes tonight. He faces a very tough guy against the Red Zone, Jaime Garcia, left-hander. He's coming off an outstanding outing, 8 innings of shutout baseball against the Atlanta Braves. He struck out 11 in that ball game. He cannot throw the ball straight. He's got pitches that go left, they've got them to go right, they go down. For a guy that has had as many surgeries as Garcia, it's amazing he's on the mound, much less able to throw the kind of moving pitches that he does.
Well, this will be the 19th time in his career that Garcia has started against Cincinnati. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, as we mentioned, Jim Day will have more on the new and improved Billy Hamilton.
USA Regional Tourism Network. Say close to CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good, it's Skyline time.
My main thing he's helped me out with is it's not about getting hits. It's about having productive at-bats. And for me to having a productive bat without getting a hit, even if I get out, but if I felt like I was in it, if I had a chance to get a hit and take it to the next at-bat, it helps me out tremendous. And like I said, he's been one of those guys who has taught me that.
And that is Billy Hamilton talking about the sessions he's had with Joey Votto in the cage before batting practice each and every day and the strides he has made. And he's learned more in the last month from Joey Votto than he has in the rest of his baseball life. Now, in those sessions with Votto is hitting coach Don Long. He likes the results as well.
You know, Joey's done a tremendous job of bringing him in and talking to him about how to work and about in-game what's really important, because it's easy for a young hitter who's trying to develop his confidence. It's easy for them to chase results and allow their confidence to be driven only by the end result rather than by the process leading up to the game and the process within game, which is swinging at the right pitches and making a together tight move on the ball. And Joey's been really valuable for Billy in that respect.
And what Billy has done is he's began to show the ability to lay off some of those pitches that he used to chase out of the zone. I've seen him get on base a lot more often with the base on balls, and that is a big deal for us. And hitting the ball hard, you know, just from an approach standpoint, I think the relationship is beneficial for certain for Billy.
And the numbers, well, they speak for themselves. They're paying off. First half, 236 average. Second half, up to 283. But look at the on-base percentage, 388. The Reds will take that all day, every day. And he's walking more like he did twice last night. His plate appearances per walk, much, much better. 2 hits, 2 walks, 3 steals last night, 9 steals in the last 3 games. Billy Ball with a little bit of Votto mixed in. Coming up, it's been a season of firsts in 2016. The boys back in the Cincinnati studio have that story coming up as we warm you up for the Reds and Cardinals.
see into the ballpark from way atop the Gateway Arch down along the river here, but you can probably see some of the stands on the third base side, and those folks aren't counted as far as attendance are concerned, but they certainly have a unique view here in St. Louis as we get ready for the final game of this 3-game series, the Reds and the St. Louis Cardinals. Let's take a look at the lineup for Brian Price's ball club tonight. Billy Hamilton there. We've talked a lot about him in this series, leading it off. Then Cozart, then Votto. It's Duvall, Suarez, and Tony Renda getting his first big league start. He'll be at second base tonight, batting 6th. Tyler Holt, hero in the game last night, will be in right field, batting 7th. Barnhart and DeSclafani round out the Reds lineup. They will face the left-hander, 28-year-old, actually 30-year-old Jaime Garcia.
Well, the Reds have seen him an awful lot, as you said in the pregame, Jim, about familiarity with the Reds. Last year he's been very good against the Reds. Overall, Jaime Garcia 8-8 with a 404 earned run average.
He's ready to go. So is Billy Hamilton, turning around and batting from the right side. Reds trying to win 2 consecutive series against the Cardinals as Hamilton takes a strike, trying to do that for the first time since 2011. They won the 3-game series before going to Pittsburgh this past week, and now they're trying to win this series here. To third and Peralta, and over to Carpenter playing first base tonight for St. Louis. A little makeshift lineup for Mike Matheny's club. Hamilton kept off base to get this game started. Take a look at the defensive alignment for the Cardinals, brought to you by your Ford dealers. A little different look tonight. They have Holiday in left, Hazel Baker playing center, Moss playing right. There's Johnny Peralta playing third with Garcia at short. Wong makes his first appearance of this series defensively at second, and Matt Carpenter at first. Garcia and Molina the battery. For Carpenter at first base, only his third start at first base since 2012. He made 1 in 2013. He made 1 last year. And you got to wonder, is that his or is that a borrowed first baseman's mitt? In the air by Cozart to left field. 2 out.
Well, if that was not a rhetorical question, I can tell you the answer is it is his. I mean, for a guy that moves around like Carpenter, he's been an everyday second baseman, been an everyday third baseman. They can put him in the outfield. They'll play first base from time to time. Cardinals originally had Matt Adams in the lineup today to play first base, but evidently his shoulder barking a little bit caused them to make a late lineup change. And makeshift, yeah, but you know, they're all pretty good athletes. You take a shortstop, put him at third base, that's normally a transition that Peralta can make no problem.
And it's one of the things that the Cardinals have done for years, and a lot of teams do, in that they have players that can play multiple positions. And I know Dick Williams, the general manager of the Reds, has talked about getting the Reds more that way. And you can kind of tell with some of the players that they're drafting, they'd like to get that
Well,
way.
the team that really does that in this league more than anybody is Joe Madden and the Cubs.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll take Chris Bryant, who's an all-star third baseman, and they'll stick him in left field, they'll stick him in right field, and move him all over the place. So I think that, you know, you're looking for ball players. That kind of oversimplifies it, but it has a pretty good way of explaining things.
Garcia gets the first 2 rather quickly here in inning number 1, and now deals with Joey Votto, and he's ahead of the Reds first baseman. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Votto's had a lot of success career-wise against Garcia. 368 average against him. Stays alive with that foul ball.
And not only a 368 batting average, but a 467 on base percentage. So Garcia has walked him a fair amount, and when he doesn't walk him, Votto has a good chance of getting hits.
Choking up on that bat, and he rips one into center field for Joey Votto. So he extends his current hitting streak to 5 games, but he has a hit now in 22 of his last 23.
The guy is just a tough out. I mean, there's just no question. That was a little bit of a hanging breaking ball by Garcia. But if you try to pull that pitch, it's a ground ball to the second baseman. You take it right back through the box.
Joey came into this game hitting .436 in terms of a batting average, .549 on base percentage since the All-Star break. Eye-popping numbers, to be sure.
I would imagine that the one part of the Red strategy tonight is to be aggressive against Garcia early in the count. He's a guy that throws a lot of first pitch strikes. In fact, he's given up 12 home runs. 6 of those home runs have come on the first pitch he's delivered. So that means a guy that's going to get that little get-ahead fastball in there.
To third, and Peralta, he'll go the short way to second. And they get the force out there on Joey Votto, putting an end to the Reds first. So the Cardinals come up against the undefeated right-hander, Anthony DeSclafani. Matheny offers up tonight on this August the 10th. Carpenter at first base tonight. Wong and Moss make up the top 3. Then Holliday, Molina, and Peralta. Hazel Baker playing center field, batting 7th. Greg Garcia getting a start. And Jaime Garcia, the pitcher, batting 9th against the perfect 6-0 right-hander Anthony DeSclafani.
26 years old now, Anthony DeSclafani is. Originally drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays in 2011, 6th round. He was the 199th player taken in the draft that year out of University of Florida. And the Reds really pulled a coup on the Miami Marlins when they were able to trade away Matt Latos and get DeSclafani in return. He has been outstanding.
That trade just looks better and better every time he goes out there. That's for certain.
Incidentally, the year that the Blue Jays picked up DeSclafani from University of Florida, that was the same year the Reds picked up Robert Stevenson in the first round and Tony Cingrani a couple of rounds later. 2011.
Fly ball hit deep to right field. Back goes the right fielder, Holt, and he'll watch that one disappear into the bullpen. A leadoff home run for Carpenter. Carpenter's 4th home run of the year. Only the 8th given up by DeSclafani.
Really not an excessive number of home runs, but a bad spot for Carpenter right there. A fastball that just kind of stayed up. And you can see the reaction by Tucker Barnhart. I'm not even sure he wanted to come in there on that pitch. DeSclafani primarily throws that hard sinking fastball and keeps it away from lefties.
Well, the Cardinals get the early advantage on the long ball. It marks the 6th time this year, first time in almost a month, that the Reds have given up a leadoff home run. The last time it happened was Gene Segura of the Diamondbacks on the 22nd of July. And it happens here with Matt Carpenter. He has the 11th career leadoff home run. Batter now is Colton Wong, and he is out quickly on strikes. And the first out here in the bottom of the first. Take a look at the Reds' defensive setup, brought to you by your Ford dealers. In the outfield, they'll line up Duvall, Hamilton, and Tyler Holt getting the start in place of Schebler out in right field tonight. Infield is Suarez, Cozart, Renda, and Votto. Barnhart catches DeSclafani. Tony Renda making his first career start in the big leagues at a position that he has been all too familiar with in his professional days, and that is second base. He also played there in college at Cal Berkeley, but he said as a youngster in his amateur days prior to college, he was primarily a shortstop.
Well, I think you can say that for just about everybody on the field. I mean, when you make the major leagues, you're usually the best player on your youth team. And where does the best player on your youth team play? Shortstop, when he's not pitching.
He's quick to tell you he can play second, short, third. He can play the outfield spots. He just wants to play.
I like this comment when he was talking to Jim Day the other day in a very nice interview they did, where he says, I may be 5'6", but I play like I'm 6'4".
Yeah.
And that's the attitude you have to have. I mean, in baseball, there are a lot of people that say, well, it's getting to be a bigger and bigger player's game. Well, one of the best players in the game right now, Jose Altuve, is about 5 feet 8 inches tall.
Yeah, we were talking about small in stature players last night as Moss is rung up on a good pitch over the inside part by Anthony DeSclafani.
Boy, threading the needle on the inner part of the plate right here. DeSclafani will throw primarily two-seamers, and the two-seam fastball has more backwards movement. It'll move away from left-handers more, and that's a tough pitch to throw, that front door fastball. But well, once you get that pitch down, it really opens up the strike zone.
The pitch that Sam LeCure liked to throw a lot.
It did, and of course, the first guy that I remember throwing it successfully as much as he did was Greg Maddux, who I can't say he pioneered it, because I'm sure there are old-timers that'll tell me that other pitchers did that far earlier than Maddux ever did, but Maddux certainly lived and died by that pitch. Terrific control that he had.
You can't imagine a pitcher having more success with it than Maddux did, that's for certain.
Yeah, I just remember left-handed hitters jumping out of the way and have that ball come back for a strike.
Hard hit ball by Holiday and up the middle, and that's a 2-out single for the Cardinal left fielder. He's on with a run already in for St. Louis here in the first.
Now, the two best hitters in this lineup have hit the ball hard already tonight. Holiday has been really striking the ball well in this series. I mean, that ball is by DeSclafani before he can even move. I think they're both talking about hitting the ball back up the middle. Hitters are like that.
A lot of hits between those two right there.
A lot of respect, I think, too.
DeSclafani to the stretch for the first time. He deals with Yadier Molina, the Cardinal catcher. Starts this one at 281 with 4 home runs, 34 runs batted in. That 4th home run came last night. His 3rd since the All-Star break. Molina has reached base in 22 straight games after getting the home run and an infield single here in the game last night, a game won by the Reds at 7-4. So we mentioned earlier the Reds have a chance here tonight to win consecutive series against the Cardinals. They beat them last weekend in Cincinnati prior to that Pirates series. That was the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday series at Great American Ballpark. Then the club went on to Pittsburgh, and now here. So within a 9-day span, they could take 2 series in a row from the Cardinals, something they have not accomplished since 2011. And then would also give them a 6-6 split in the first 12 games to be played between these two teams this year, with 1 series left in Cincinnati and 1 series left here. Yadier Molina, 7 consecutive All-Star selections. Ended this year, he was not an All-Star, though he has won 8 consecutive Gold Gloves. No reason to believe that he won't win a 9th. Runner going on this 3-2 pitch, and it's an off-speed delivery. Molina strikes out to retire the side, but a leadoff homer by Carpenter put the St. Louis club in front. About tonight's storyline presented by Elk and Elk. What's at stake for the Reds in this game? We continue on what we were talking about. First back-to-back series wins here since 2011. If the Reds can win tonight, if they can win tonight, third series win in St. Louis since August of 2006. Their third win in St. Louis this season. If they can garner a victory here this evening, the most since 2013. So that's what's at stake here tonight. Our Elk and Elk storyline. Ryan Price feeling pretty good in that dugout with Anthony DeSclafani on the mound despite trailing 1-0 as we go to the second. And a Eugenio Suarez to lead it off. With a shortstop, this is Greg Garcia. And they'll throw it over to Carpenter for the out. You see 3 ground ball outs thus far, and Garcia is a big-time ground ball guy.
He is one of the more prolific ground ball pitchers you're going to see, and you watch him work, he just stays down on the knees. And you're also going to see abnormal movement on his pitches. That's nearly 60%. That is tops in the National League, and he's usually around that leaderboard anyway in number of ground balls.
You see the number 58.5% ground ball rate, tops in the league. And looking at a number also, Chris, he's gotten 17 ground ball double plays. That's a huge number.
It sure is.
So here's Tony Rendon, his first at bat as a big league starter, getting the nod at second base tonight. He'll beat one into the ground to Garcia, the shortstop, and Renda, former player of the year at Cal Berkeley, back in his final year of college. 2 men out. Renda getting the start at second base tonight because Brandon Phillips is out of the lineup with a knee injury. See right there, it appeared, we don't know for sure, but it appeared as if he twisted that knee when he took that swing. Slow down to first base. He'll reach down and tend to the knee, right knee. So Phillips out of the lineup tonight.
Must be hurting him pretty good to have him not be in the lineup, because Brandon likes to play every day. He just does not want to relinquish his spot for any reason at all. And if you're going to do that, play every day, you got to play through a lot of pain, nicks and bruises. So it's got to be debilitating for him to be sitting in that dugout.
Hold bats with 2 men out. To Greg Garcia, who's busy this inning. A backhand pick and throw, and down go the Reds in order here in the top of the second.
Live with the MLB.com at-bat app. Stay up to the moment, any moment. Game day, live game video, highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at-bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone or tablet. Let's follow up on Brandon Phillips. The knee injury is new. It swelled up on him last night after that at-bat. So add to that, he's got a quad issue, a toe issue. He's still got a hairline fracture in the hand. He's got forearm issues. It is just an abundance of injuries, I should say. But with the off day tomorrow, Brian Price wanted to take advantage of that, get him out of the lineup tonight and the off day tomorrow. So it'll be 2 straight unless he's needed somehow tonight. So just another thing. He was not limping as much as he was last night, though, today, boys.
All right, Jim, before we let you go, one more quick thing about the start by Holt in right field. Did that have anything to do with Schebler being hit by the pitch last night?
It did. In fact, after he got hit by the pitch, it really tightened up on him on the bench, and adrenaline got him through. He actually stole a base last night after the injury, but once he sat down on the bench, he just could not go anymore, and Holt went into the game. Today, he was walking with a distinctive limp, and he basically says that it's sort of like a Charlie horse, a constant Charlie horse. But again, with the off day tomorrow, he thinks he will be ready to go on Friday.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Well, the other part of that, with a left-hander on the mound and a very tough left-hander in Jaime Garcia, good chance for Tyler Holt to get, several at-bats here against a lefty. You got a lefty-righty matchup there instead of Schebler.
Tyler Holt, an interesting comment after the game last night. He said, I finally feel like I'm part of the team again. I finally have contributed something. He had that RBI double. It was his first run batted in since the 13th of June. That's a long stretch.
Well, we had not seen him very much. I mean, he would come in from time to time as a defensive adjustment or a defensive replacement, an occasional pinch hitting appearance, but he had not started a game since back in June.
Well, he's getting the nod out in right field tonight.
Long time to be riding the pine.
Sure is. Meanwhile, DeSclafani has gotten a ground out off the bat of Peralta. A fly ball to center by Hazel Baker. And now Greg Garcia playing shortstop tonight. He'll take strike 1. DeSclafani, 11 starts this year, 9 quality starts. Behind short and going out to get it is Cozart. He read it well. He got a good break on that ball. And the Cardinals go in order in the bottom of the second. Greater coverage of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. The last season for these players in 2016. The most recent announced today. That is Texas Rangers first baseman Prince Fielder. But look at this list. A-Rod, David Ortiz, Big Papi, Mark Teixeira, and Prince Fielder. There's a lot of home runs on that list.
You better believe that. Out with the old, in with the new.
A-Rod at 696, just 4 away from becoming only the 4th player in Major League history to amass 700. Barry Bonds at 762. Hammer and Hank at 755. The Babe at 714. And A-Rod at 696. First pitch ground out there by Barnhart. So that's 4 straight ground balls to the shortstop by Jaime Garcia.
It's like they've got an agreement. Jaime Garcia and Greg Garcia. Jaime says, all right, I'll pay you for every ground ball you field and throw to first base. Right now he owes him a couple of steak dinners.
Here's Anthony DeSclafani. Anthony this year, 3 hits, 21 ABs. And we want to take a moment to pass along a special anniversary note tonight on this Wednesday, August the 10th. Happy 70th, Chris. 70th anniversary to Russell and Mary Lou Carr. They are the grandparents of our good friend Jamie Ramsey, media relations assistant with the Reds. His grandparents, huge Reds fans, watch most every night. Base hit into right by DeSclafani. They are big Billy Hamilton fans. We appreciate them watching. We've got a very nice grandson in Jamie, and again, happy 70th anniversary to Russell and Mary Lou Carr.
Now that is really something to be proud of, and thank you for watching.
They appreciate that hit by DeSclafani, just like we do. The pitcher gets his 4th hit. He's on with 1 out here in the 3rd.
Matt Carpenter looking into the Cardinal dugout. The first baseman doesn't play there much. He's asking for directions. All right, well, where do you want me to play right here? At first it was off the bag. Now it's holding the runner on.
Here's now Russell and Mary Lou's favorite Red, Billy Hamilton. We talked a lot about him in this series, really in the Pittsburgh series as well. He's really done an incredible job as of late. Billy Hamilton, 9 stolen bases in the last 3 games. A very good month of August, 333.
Well, his performance certainly hasn't been unnoticed. In fact, I had a long conversation tonight with the Cardinals television play-by-play man, Dan McLaughlin, and he said, you know, this is the first time we've seen Hamilton play the way he is, and he's the kind of player that everybody wishes they had on your team. The Cardinals, by comparison, look old and lethargic.
Smash to 3rd, but Peralta picks it. They get the out at second base, but cannot double up Hamilton at first. 2 out.
But that brings up the age-old question. Would you rather have DeSclafani at second? Or would you rather have Billy Hamilton at first and nobody at second?
I'd rather have Billy at first.
Well, he may not be there very long. Now, Jaime Garcia has given up 6 stolen bases. They've thrown out 3. And Brian Price is going to run out and talk to the home plate umpire, Angel Hernandez, about something.
Could be the play at second base as to whether the second baseman Wong had his foot on the bag. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, the left foot to the front side, the back foot to the back side of the bag.
You know, right upon the release of his throw to first base, it looked like maybe his toe scraped the back of the bag, but they're going to ask the guys in New York to take a look at that.
So the Reds will challenge. Let's take a look here.
So far, the front foot, no. We really can't tell, I don't think, with the back foot to right there, although that ball may have been out of his hand. That's a very astute look. I'm not so sure that this was the intent of the rule at the very time that they put the replay in, but now that you've got the advantage of using slow-mo video to take a look, why not?
Yeah, you can see in that video right there that his back foot is clearly off the bag. So the question is, did that front foot, the left foot, stay on the base while the ball was in his glove, or did he already taken it off? Last year, there would have been no question because it was a neighborhood rule. This year, the neighborhood rule is out. So the Reds challenge this. Brian Price is just like what you said. He does not like this rule, but he's certainly going to take it and use it to his advantage if he can.
Well, the Reds have been one of the better teams as far as being able to use that replay to their advantage. They have overturned, I think, more than 50% of the times that they've asked.
Tell you what, they may overturn this thing.
Well, if his left foot is not in contact and that shot is a little bit blurry, that's still shot.
And they call him out. So that is not overturned.
Now this is where Hamilton, you know, you have a long review like this. If I'm Jaime Garcia, I'm throwing over the first time here, and then I'm throwing over a second time. But Hamilton might be thinking, all right, you know, you take a small lead right here, and you just go and he picks his leg up because maybe he won't throw over.
Hamilton with the 3 stolen bases last night, give him 48 on the year. Jonathan Villar of Milwaukee did not steal a base last night, was caught stealing one, so he is second now at 45. Billy 2 steals away from 3 straight 50 stolen base seasons.
You know, that would be you opted for Billy Hamilton at first with 2 outs rather than Anthony DeSclafani at second with 2 outs. That would be a great poll question that we could put out to our audience. We used to do that. We had tens and thousands of responses, and it just overwhelmed the system. I don't know if we'll ever be able to get that back going again. But that'd be kind of interesting.
I mean, the thought process for me is he may very well be able to steal second. I'd rather have a runner like him out there than the pitcher on a night like tonight, potentially get worn out. I'd rather have him pitching than running the bases. DH fans will say that's a good argument for the DH right there.
And the guys who are running the streets to stay in shape are saying, why can't a guy run 90 feet without getting worn out?
Oh, you mean running like in jogging? I thought you meant running the streets as in
people that stay in shape.
Yes.
You see them as you drive by.
Sure.
In fact, you used to be one of them.
I still am to a certain degree. Not like our man Josh Hall, our producer. Billy not going. And now Cozart are going to look at a 3-1 pitch here.
I think it's the first 3-1 count that Jaime Garcia's had, and it's a Billy Hamilton effect. And we've seen it with the previous starters that the Cardinals have run out there the last couple of nights. Mike Leake was bothered by him. Michael Wacha just couldn't keep Billy off the base pass. It couldn't see him. He was on first 2 or 3 times up.
Hit hard by Cozart to left, and Holiday got turned around, but was tall enough to reach up and make the catch of that ball. With 2 out, Billy would have scored had that ball gotten over his head, but it did not. Holiday caught it to end the inning. Great American Ballpark is your family destination on Sunday, August the 21st. Thanks to Klosterman Bakery, you can get half-price Reds tickets, enjoy live mascot races, face painters, games, and much more. Plus, kids 14 and younger will get a Billy Hamilton Fathead thanks to PNC Bank. For tickets, 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. 1-0 Cardinals. We go to the bottom of the third. The pitcher, Jaime Garcia, leads things off for St. Louis. 6 hits on the year and a 182 average, but a good job. Doesn't need to do it here, but a good job in terms of laying down those sacrifice bunts. Nice stroke to center, and Billy Hamilton has to jump up to make the catch of that ball. That thing was rising, and Billy had taken a couple of steps in, but he recovered nicely to grab it.
Usually the ball that comes off the pitcher's bat goes out there and dies. This one did not. It just kept going and going. Last 2 outs, outfielders having to leap for balls to keep them from going over their heads.
Well, we saw Holiday do it to end the top of the third. We see Hamilton do it, leaping, making a catch here in the bottom of the third. And here now it's Matt Carpenter, responsible for the only run of this game thus far. Well, there's an interesting contrast between the types of leadoff men that these two teams have in Billy Hamilton and Matt Carpenter in terms of speed, in terms of power, and what they're trying to do.
And what their approach at the plate is very different too. Matt Carpenter is one of the most patient hitters that you'll ever see. Even though he picked on one of the first pitches he saw in the bottom of the first inning to hit a home run, he normally is a guy that is going to see an average of more than 4 pitches per plate appearance. And just kind of works you. Not very fast when he does get onto base paths.
It's this ball hard into left center field. Hamilton on the run. Billy's not going to get it, and it bounces away from both of the outfielders. Carpenter on his way to third. This could be close. The throw, the tag, not in time. Sixth trip of the year for Matt Carpenter.
Well, the ball was hit hard and split the gap between the outfielders perfectly, and Billy Hamilton was right against the wall, and that ball hit the bottom of the wall, and there was nobody there as the ball ricocheted very hard. Well done by Adam Duvall. I mean, that throw is a one-hopper on the money, and any way you cut it, in my book, that's one of the most exciting plays in baseball, a triple, especially with a close play at third base.
Carpenter has the toughest parts of the cycle now in the book, a home run and a triple.
Here we go.
Here now it's Colton Wong. We don't see many cycles, that's for certain. The Reds saw one from Freddie Freeman earlier this year. Wong struck out his first time. Reds play the infield in with a runner at third and 1 out. Talked about DeSclafani and the work that he has done against the Cardinals. All of his starts against them coming last year. He had 1 relief appearance as a member of the Marlins, 2014. I mean, they were 3 excellent starts. 6 innings, 1 run, 4 hits. 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 hits. 7 innings, no runs, 3 hits. His 3 starts against them last year. 1.29 ERA. One of those starts, the best, came here in St. Louis on the 29th of July, the 7 innings of no-run, 3-hit baseball in a 1-0 win. Dig out if they can get it here with Wong with the infield in. And they do on a strikeout of Colton Wong. He fans for the second time.
Good looking breaking ball right there. DeSclafani will throw a lot of breaking balls, nearly 50% off speed. That one, I believe, down around 80 miles an hour is more like the curveball than the slider, and it's got great downward action. And he's gotten long now, back-to-back at bats on that pitch.
Wong was a 2-year starter here at second base. A couple of years ago, he was what, 2 or 3 in National League Rookie of the Year voting, but he has in effect lost his job here in 2016. In fact, he was sent down to the minor leagues for a short while. Ledmus Diaz hitting the way he had been hitting and playing at shortstop, and Peralta coming back and playing third. Carpenter moving back to second base. Wasn't a spot for Wong. Moss, a strikeout victim, looking his first time. They shift him as they have done throughout this series. We see Tony Renda way out there in shallow right field, like we've seen Phillips. 2 strikes. Had a hit last night, 1 for 3 plus a walk. Continues to do big time damage against the Reds, although he hasn't, knock on wood, hurt them much in this series. He's still hitting .359 with 5 home runs this year against Reds pitching. Reds team will enjoy an off day tomorrow in Milwaukee and start a weekend series against the Brewers, the team that is immediately ahead of them in the NL Central standings come Friday night. There's a chance the Reds will have to see that Milwaukee club without Jonathan Lucroy behind the plate, and now without Jeremy Jeffress closing for them. The last couple of days in Major League Baseball, there's been some managers that have not managed their club. We want to welcome those guys back. Bruce Bochy didn't manage on Monday night. He wasn't feeling overly well down in against Miami. He went to the hospital. They released him. He came back, managed last night. Had a little irregular heartbeat, but he's back with the ball club. And our good friend Tito Francona with the Cleveland Indians did not manage the Tribes game last night on the road. Toward left field by Moss. Duvall chasing, and a foul ball. He was having his pregame media meeting and kind of rubbing his chest, not feeling well. They sent him back to the hotel, and he's back today, so it's good to see that Terry Francona back with his ball club.
Both scary times, yes. No doubt. I mean, you're talking about your ticker, and baseball certainly takes a way step back as far as your priorities go when you have heart problems.
We experienced that here in Cincinnati a few years ago with Dusty Baker when he was running this club. DeSclafani trying to put Moss away. Now a full count. Holiday waiting on deck. Moss, a versatile guy. He's been playing first base for this team in right field, however, tonight. Piscotty sitting up. Hard to right field. Holt back over his head. That'll add to the Cardinal lead. Hamilton backing him up will get it in. Brandon Moss gets his 47th run batted in this year, his 15th against the Reds, and it's 2-0.
Now, it looked like maybe an off-speed pitch of some kind right there that Anthony DeSclafani tried to turn that ball over against Moss, and he just went right down there to get it. Actually, the last pitch was a slider at 89 miles an hour that he just went down and put a pretty good swing on.
So the Cardinals, after getting a run in the first, have put another run on the board here in the bottom of the third. Now to keep it 2-0, it's incumbent upon this right-hander DeSclafani to work through Matt Holliday. Line drive single into center his first time.
Well, Jim Kelch, if you wanted to see the cycle tonight, you've already seen the team cycle by the Cardinals. They have 4 hits, a hit, home run, a triple, a double, and a single.
Yeah, I'm not wanting to see it. In fact, I'd prefer not to see it on the opposition side. That's a called strike according to Angel Hernandez. Total disagreement, Matt Holliday.
Completely changes the at-bat, too, for both the hitter and the pitcher right here. I don't know how. That was just a good frame job right there by Tucker Barnhart. Give him a little credit on that. I mean, there is such a thing as catchers who are good at framing and buying some strikes. That's one thing I think that there are a lot of teams that are out there looking more and more when they are looking for a veteran catcher. Maybe acquire in a trade or even a free agent market acquisition. You know, you look at the batting average, you look at their arm strength, you look at the catching ability, but part of that catching ability is how well do you frame. Barnhart's very good.
Tap to third. And Suarez guns out Holliday at first base, so the Cardinals settle for 1 and lead 2-0 through 3. Nobody sees sports quite the way Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock do. The brains to know, the guts to say. Catch Colin and Jason on FS1's new daily sports talk show, Speak for Yourself, weeknights at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. This game through 3. 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors Cardinals. No runs, 2 hits, no errors Reds. Both teams have left a pair. Reds try to get something going here against Jaime Garcia. We've seen him one time this year. That was back on the 8th of June in a game ultimately won by the Cardinals 12-7. But in that game, the Reds touched him up for 5 runs, a whopping 13 hits in 4 2/3 innings. Jam shot to left, and Votto is retired. But he has been very good here in St. Louis against the Reds to the tune of 7-1 with a 2.32 ERA in 10 starts. Reds saw him 3 times last year, beat him twice. His overall record against Cincinnati, 10 wins, 4 losses in his career. Here's Adam Duvall. But Garcia, he's been through the ringer in terms of injuries. I mean, he's had major shoulder surgery. He most recently had thoracic outlet syndrome surgery. Missed the better part of 3 years, 12, 13, and 14 for this Cardinal team. Last year 10-6, this year 8-8. Long, loud foul ball by Duvall. Ball and 2 strikes. Duvall snapped an 0 for 18 drought in the 3rd inning last night when he drove a single into center, scored a pair, giving the Reds at the time a 2-1 lead. Swings at a bad ball in the dirt here and will be thrown out by Molina at first base. That's the first strikeout of the night for Garcia.
Now that's his really modus operandi for Jaime Garcia, is to get ahead in the count and then get hitters to chase pitches out of the strike zone. He's got a sharp slider that goes straight down. He's got this kind of screwball type changeup that goes very hard down and away from right-handers. And sometimes the problem that Garcia runs into is that his pitches move too much, that he can't control them. Whatever he did his last outing against the Atlanta Braves, I mean, he really turned it around, because prior to that, he had 5 outings in a row, which his earned run average was over 6. 11 strikeouts last time against the Braves. That's the first time he had more than 6 strikeouts going all the way back to May 11th. So he may have found a little rejuvenation here in the second half.
Gets a strike in there to Suarez, and now it's 1 ball and 2 strikes.
A chest high changeup. I mean, hitters, you know, for hitters, that just doesn't compute.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, normally when a pitcher wants to throw a changeup, he wants to throw it down around the knees. But Garcia just kind of flips it on up there, and he takes about 8 or 9 miles an hour off. It's a good separation speed-wise between his fastest and his changeup. But he knows, I think, that Eugenio Suarez is a very good low ball hitter. That's why you've seen the last 3 pitches in this at bat up. But his bread and butter is down.
Over the heart of the plate, driven hard toward right field, and that ball gone. Called by the second base umpire, Ted Barrett, the crew chief. It just got over the wall out in right. An opposite field shot for Suarez. That is his 18th of the year, and the Reds are on the board here in the 4th.
Well, you can see Garcia going and pounding the top of the strike zone, even with changeups. But on a 3-2 count, he decided to go back to his bread and butter, which is down. He didn't get it down enough, and he got the outer third of the plate. And Suarez just puts a really good swing on this ball. He waits a long time. He drives it. Boy, that's the kind of power that you see out of this young man that really ought to get you excited. That kid can hit. And he's only, what, 23 years old?
Yeah, he had a very good first half. Not a great second half starting in early July, but things have started to blossom for him again.
You know, you just can't remind yourself with young players enough that you have to be patient.
Hard to third by Renda, and he will be thrown out at first to end the top of the fourth inning. But the Reds are on the board on this one by Eugenio Suarez to right. Los Angeles Dodgers coming up August 19th through the 22nd. Thanks to Reach Magazine, you can catch all the action and save with the 4 for $48 ticket offer. Get 4 view-level tickets and 4 Reds hats for only $48. If you'd like tickets, you can call 513-381-REDS, or you can visit reds.com/4 for $48. Cardinals batting here in the fourth. Molina leading things off. He was a strikeout victim back in the first. 3 hits, 8 at bats, including a home run in this series. This one is a chance for Holt in right for out number 1.
Both these pitchers really, for the most part, throwing a lot of strikes, and hitters up there hacking. They got that getaway attitude going.
Both these teams getting out of town. The Cardinals head for Chicago. They'll start a series against the Cubs there tomorrow night. That's a 4-game series up in Chicago. Reds head to Milwaukee, off day tomorrow, and then the beginning of a 3-game series against the Brewers on Friday night.
It's always a festive weekend in Chicago when the Cardinals and the Cubs get together.
Sure is. And that Cub team, after floundering just a little bit, have now reeled off 8 games in a row on the win side. They've won now 70 games on the year. They're 70-41. Once again, the best record in baseball by 3 games in the win column over Texas.
What is so impressive for me is their run differential. I know a lot of people don't follow that. It's essentially the number of runs you give up versus the number of runs you score. But they are plus 186. Am I right on that, or?
Yeah,
I know it's thereabouts.
I'm just looking at a contrast. You'd think, well, how good is that? Well, by contrast, the Reds are a minus 120 minus 126.
Yeah. That'll put you 20 games back. Or 20 games under 500, that is.
Cardinals are a plus 70. Second is the Nationals. They're 50 runs behind the Cubs. They're a plus 136.
So you know, so Joe Madden's club doesn't like playing close games. Not very nice.
Well, they just have so many offensive weapons.
And they've got good pitching.
And good pitching. And they reinforce that pitching. There's a high fly ball off the bat of Peralta to left. Nothing Duvall can do but turn and watch it sail. Second home run of the night for the Cardinals. Number 6 for Peralta. DeSclafani knew it right away as he turned and looked at this one.
That's one of those flat sliders. It kind of goes from side to side. Boy, the reaction of Tucker Barnhart, priceless right here. He doesn't even want to look at it. He just looks away. So I can't look at that.
Cardinals didn't homer on Monday, but they homered twice last night, twice tonight. So now on the year, 153. National League best for this St. Louis team in terms of round trippers.
You know, it's funny. You hear pitching coaches all the time at every different level will tell their pitchers, you got to stay on top of that breaking ball. And it's really very easy for a pitcher just to drop his fingers on the side of the ball just a little bit. And when you do that, the ball flattens out, stays on the same plane for the hitter, and it gives him a good chance to put the solid part of the bat on it. Yeah, and then you come right back like DeSclafani has in this at bat, and he's staying on top of his breaking ball. But make the mistake to the wrong guy, and you pay.
You made the point, I think it was on Monday, we were talking about home runs with this Cardinal team, that it's been a real turnaround for them. They have not been, over the last 2 or 3 years, a home run hitting team.
No, I think they were 11th last year. They came into this series second so far this year.
In big league baseball. 2 years ago, they finished with the fewest home runs in the National League 2 seasons ago. And here's what we're talking about. This year, tops in the National League, second in the big leagues. I correct myself by saying 4th in the big leagues, but first, I believe, in the National League.
First in the National League, yeah. And you would figure that'd be true with the designated hitter. You know, Orioles, Blue Jays, Mariners have all hit more home runs. Well, they're certainly not going to burn up any base paths, because a few years ago they were a much faster team when they had John Jay around, you know, Skip Schumacher. We're going back, you know, quite a few years for that. But still, when they were winning World Series early on in the early 2000s, and getting to the postseason and deep into the postseason, they were more of an athletic speed team. Of course, their famous 1985 team under Whitey Herzog was nothing but speed.
Right.
Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, Tommy Herr. Even the slow guys could run on that team.
Walk given up to Hazelbaker. DeSclafani's had just 1, 2, 3 inning tonight. Got some great murals on the wall here. Retired numbers out in right center field. There's Whitey Herzog, the architect of that mid-'80s team. Bruce Sutter, closer on the Cardinal club. To his left was the Hall of Famer Lou Brock. Sutter, of course, a Hall of Famer as well. Both those numbers are retired. Herzog's number retired. Dizzy Dean. Bob Gibson.
Is Kurt Flood up there?
Kurt Flood is not up there.
He ought to be.
Kurt Flood was a terrific
so that
player.
every player on this field can go out there and genuflect before that that portrait before every game.
He was the man that started the ball rolling with free agency.
He's a guy that started to open up the bank accounts for these players.
Back in the late 60s, early 70s, was it not?
Mm-hmm.
He was with the Cardinals. They wanted to trade him to the Phillies. He said, I don't want to go.
And at the time, it was viewed by many people as blasphemy, because you were changing the tradition of baseball that had been around, for 100 years. But the courts ruled into free agency, and everything began to change.
And then George Steinbrenner brought the Yankees, and it changed even more.
I think he bought the Yankees in, 1972 or 73?
Right, yeah, right around there.
Paid $10 million for him.
Bought him from, I believe, CBS at the
I think he
time.
have a hard time buying 4 season tickets in Yankee Stadium for that much now.
He led them to a number of World Series and got the new stadium built out in New York. Of course, it didn't hurt when that big block of cement fell down from the stands one day.
Boy, funny what you remember, huh?
Isn't it? What did he go through talking about Steinbrenner? Billy Martin 5 or 6 times as the manager, and Lou Piniella, who we see every now and then now, is special assistant with the Reds to the general manager. He was in there 2 or 3 times as a manager after finishing playing there.
Oh, he's going. He must have something going on right there, because it sure looked like he was moving the other way, Hazelbaker.
That's 5 stolen bases this year. That marks 20% of what the Cardinals have overall. Oh, they've got him leaning, and he is picked off at first base. DeSclafani with the pickoff. That's his 4th pickoff this year. He almost got Hazelbaker on the pitch before. Gets him here.
If I'm the manager at that point, I don't know what they have going. They probably have a hit and run going. But if you're almost picked off the pitch before, why keep the play on? All you're doing is playing right into the advantage of the defense right there, and DeSclafani with a very quick move to first base removes the base runner.
It works to Garcia now with nobody on and with a 2-2 count.
And you risk the chance now of having Garcia make the 3rd out, and you lead next inning off with the pitcher.
Garcia will now get a look at a 3-2 pitch here in the bottom of the 4th. Talked about these 2 teams still having 7 games to play this year. They'll next meet in early September in Cincinnati, September 2, 3, 4. And the final 4 road games of the year for the Reds are here in St. Louis, 26, 27, 28, 29 of September, Monday through Thursday. Reds with their win here over the Cardinals last night, and the victory by Miami means the Cardinals now are once again trailing Miami by a game for that 2nd National League wild card spot.
Senior Open this weekend. Fox Sports Ohio teamed up with the USGA and the Play 9 program to promote a simple yet effective way to fit the game of golf into your busy schedule. Members of the Indians and Blue Jackets broadcast crews joined kids from the First Tee program in Central Ohio on Monday to help grow the game. The U.S. Senior Open is being held at Scioto Country Club this weekend, and you can see it first couple of rounds on FS1 and the final 2 rounds on the Big Fox this weekend. Looking forward to it. Senior Open returning to Scioto Country Club, the course where Jack Nicklaus learned to play the game.
You know, you make time in your busy schedule for golf, Jim Day.
Yes, in this Play 9 program, you know, the world has changed. People are busier, and it takes a long time to play 9, particularly if you're hitting it into the woods and out of bounds like I do.
Unless you're playing, of course, in Marty Brenneman, then you can play 18 in the time it takes most people to play 9.
He is a speed golfer and also invented the fairway mulligan.
The multiple fairway mulligan.
Well, you know, there's stroke play, there's the Stableford scoring system, and then there's the Brenneman scoring system.
Well, Marty's golf tournament will be coming up fairly soon. I think it was, what, September the 12th?
Yeah, about a month from now.
A month from now, of course, down at Belterra Casino. A great 2-day event. Benefits the Reds Community Fund. One of the biggest fundraisers they have for the community fund all year long. And they've got a lot of celebrities down there to play. And I'm sure that if you're interested in playing, you can contact the Reds and get yourself a foursome.
You'll be involved in that.
I will indeed, yeah. We're trying to hone out the remaining members of the A team. Working on that today.
Crafting that team to try to win the championship at Belterra.
Let me just say that Marty will be slightly surprised this year.
Don't give away any secrets now.
Well, what happens every year on that is that most everybody in the tournament, all the groups, they play for the prizes that are out there. And then Marty fields a team. And his son Tom fields a team. And of course, you load it up with all the ringers you can get. And it's a grudge match right down to the very end.
Now, are you considered a, quote, ringer?
No, I just happen to be lucky to be on the A team.
Is Jim Day a ringer? Cowboy, is he a ringer?
No, Marty is on his team, and I play on Tom's team.
Here's the information if you're interested. And again, benefiting the Reds Community Fund, the Marty Brenneman Golf Classic coming up the 11th and the 12th at Belterra. Scrambles on Sunday and Monday. Each golfer receives a hotel room and a very good, emphasize that, gift bag. Sunday dinner presented by Fox Sports Ohio.
I'll tell you, that dinner on Sunday night is more fun. It is just big time. They've got a terrific program. Jim Day's been a star of that many, many times. Jeff Picoro helps out with that. You're down there also, Jim Kelch, I believe, to make an appearance. And after dinner, of course, the casino's open, and in the morning you play golf. You also can play on Sunday. It's a great tournament.
You know,
one of the best I've ever been involved in.
They have the dinner, then they have the entertainment portion of the program, which lately has been comedians. And I'm telling you what, our Jim Day could do a stand-up act and hold his own on that. He's a funny guy, particularly with his imitations.
That sounds like a tech talk.
You should do that. He's got a stable of imitations that are classic. Strike 3 called, right, Jim Day?
Well, Billy Hamilton going to take us to break here. He going to lead off next half inning. We're going to play some defense, try to outrun the ball.
S1 fills your lineup with a star-studded doubleheader. Andrew McCutchen and the Pirates take on the LA Dodgers. Then Mike Trout tries to lift the Angels over the AL Central leading Cleveland Indians in a game you can only see on FS1. The action begins at 3:30 Eastern on Fox Sports 1, and you can watch it live on Fox Sports Go. I'm Jim Day. Weird situation in the Reds clubhouse today. The clubbies were taking down everything baseball related off the walls, and then they were set to take all the leather furniture out of the clubhouse. We're like, what's going on? We later found out that Paul McCartney is set to have a concert here this weekend. In fact, they will take over this stadium tonight at midnight. And apparently Paul McCartney's a vegan, so I guess that explains the leather furniture. But we're still trying to figure out maybe what he has against baseball, because everything, and I mean everything baseball related, was being taken off the walls.
Well, maybe they're going to have cricket pictures put up. Maybe he's into cricket.
I don't get the leather furniture. Is he going to take a bite out of the armrest or what?
That's what we asked. We're like, he's not going to eat the furniture, is he? Apparently he just doesn't even like the sight of it. We'll respect that a little bit. Busch Stadium's been busy, by the way. They just had a soccer match here. You can still see the lines from the pitch out there on the field, and Cardinal series, and now Paul McCartney this weekend.
We certainly remember the Paul McCartney concert at Great American Ballpark. I believe that was 2010. But boy, what a show he put on. And he plays without an intermission, 2.5 hours. It's incredible.
It's really unbelievable that he's still touring and giving people a chance to see, one of the greatest Beatles ever.
No doubt about it.
One of the greatest entertainers ever in the music business. I'll tell you, Jaime Garcia, guy can hit a little bit. He hit a line drive to Billy Hamilton, who had a leap to make the grab his first time up, and that was a rocket shot into right field for a base hit there.
Well, he's on, and now here's Matt Carpenter, a homer and a triple to his credit so far tonight. Cardinals now have 6 hits. They've out hit the Reds 6-3. Carpenter, who ended an 0-for-14 drought with a double in the 8th inning on Monday. 2 hits last night, 2 hits tonight. Goes Tucker Barnhart to the mound, something you were talking about last night, kind of taking control of the situation. 3-0 now the count.
You talk about the cycle, and Carpenter has the 2 toughest parts, the home run and the triple. And of course the cycle is getting home run, triple, double, and single. Wonder if anybody's ever had the super cycle, which would include a walk in that group.
They call that a super cycle? I've never
just
heard
made
of
that up.
Oh.
It sounds good though.
Well, he's got the walk part now, so. You tend to make things up like that, the super cycle, and you had the, 2 years ago you had the you had the quality start and then the ultra quality start, which I personally liked.
Which was 7 innings of 2 runs, I think.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It didn't get much traction, so.
Not because I didn't push it,
I gave it back to the guy I stole it from.
It's Colton Wong. He has struck out twice.
All off breaking balls, too. We'll see how DeSclafani pitches him here, and he's going to pop him up on a bunt.
Barnhart chasing, and he can't quite get there.
Well, it's got to be very frustrating for Mike Matheny if he looks in there and he sees his middle infielder who struggled at the plate, lost his starting job at second base, but you send him up there simply to to lay a bunt down. And if he's unable to get that down, I got to tell you, the Wong right here is probably feeling a tremendous amount of pressure, because he knows in the back of his mind how easy it appears to be, but it's not really as easy as it is when you're standing in the batter's box.
He talked with Chris Maloney, the third base coach. Suarez coming in at third, swinging, and he fouls it back, 2 strikes.
Wow.
Not good numbers against DeSclafani.
I don't know how many Cardinals do have good numbers. I mean, after all, he was 3-0 against them last year.
Devado out at second. No relay throw. So first and third now with 1 out.
You know, that's a play right there, and it may not make any sense, but there's no must slide rule at second base. So when there's a ground ball hit to the first baseman at that angle, why wouldn't Matt Carpenter simply go into second base standing up?
Other than for fear that he may overrun the bag.
Well, you just slow down, because you're going to be out anyway if the runner, if the ball is actually caught by the covering shortstop. What I'm saying is that the ball would have a really good chance of hitting you in the back, because it was not an easy angle for Joey Votto, but he threw the ball, and obviously expecting that runner to slide and clear a big throwing lane.
No, that's the same kind of thing you were talking about the other day, about throwing from right to third base. Moss had a ringing RBI double to right field his last time.
Good time for a double play ball here. That was the same pitch that Moss hit for that double, but that one was a couple of inches lower and had a lot better downward break. The old back pick with a left-handed hitter up there. That's a play that the Cardinals have used many, many times with the Yadier Molina behind the plate. You call for a slider down and in. That gets the catcher moving towards first base. And he throws to first base, and the runner is actually shielded out. He can't see what the catcher is doing. Next thing you know, the ball's in the hand of the first baseman.
Well, 2-2 now to Moss. 2 hits, but 3 RBIs in this series. He's hit into 6 double plays this year. Got him on strikes. Strikeout number 5 for DeSclafani. He's the second out of the inning.
Harder slider that time. Look at the grouping of pitches. If we could show that box tracks up, that box up there again. I mean, everything DeSclafani threw Brandon Moss. Look at them all down here. Man, you got to love that. And the first pitch was up right up there at the top of the zone. So you jump ahead and then you tease them down low.
So here's Holiday with 2 out. Single in the first, ground out in the third. He now has 3 hits and 10 at bats, including a home run in this series. Molina waiting on deck. Sclafani gave up the hit to Garcia and the walk to Carpenter to start this inning. Wong hit into the force play. Moss struck out. Now as he nears mid-90s in terms of number of pitches, DeSclafani trying to keep it a 3-1 game here in the bottom of the 5th.
Now, we talked about the cycle and the possible super cycle. I didn't invent that. I thought I did. But all you have to do is put something out there on Twitter and you're going to get an answer. And I did. There have been, in the history of baseball, 39 super cycles. That would be the cycle with a walk. And in fact, there was one super duper cycle, and it was by a Reds player. 1940, Reds center fielder Harry Kraft hit for the cycle, plus a walk, plus a hit by pitch. So there you have it.
Cycle, a super cycle, and a super duper cycle.
So I thank MCK on Twitter for that. I guess you put a little like sign on the heart.
Where did you come up with the word super cycle, though? Did you just come up with it?
Yeah, it made sense.
So
probably already trademarked.
MC.
I thought it was something whether you do have it in your washing machine, actually.
Super cycle, yeah. And a super duper drink at the corner 7-Eleven. Or depending on where you are in the country, the AM PM. Oh, right by DeSclafani. Diving stop. Renda got him at first. What a play by Tony Renda behind the bag at second. The first defensive gem that he has turned in his big league career. Puts an end to the bottom of the 5th. Nice. Fox Sports Ohio is brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together. That play by Tony Rendon to end the bottom of the fifth certainly deserves another look off the bat of Holiday.
What a play by Tony Rendon. I mean, look how quickly he gets up. Very quick release with that throw. And on the money so Votto can stretch and get Holiday just by a hair. Look at the reaction in the Cardinal dugout. You got to love that. They're counting that base hit already.
So back to work goes Jaime Garcia. He'll get the top of the order. That means Hamilton, Cozart, Votto. Down by a pair at 3-1. Quiet on the bases in this game for Billy. He's grounded out. Reached on a fielder's choice back in the third. Billy's had decent success against Garcia, even with his 0 for 2 tonight. He's 3 for 9 in his career against the left-hander out of Mexico. Garcia has to pick and throw in a hurry, and he does. Billy is out. That's 5 in a row now, retired by Jaime Garcia. Just as a reminder, as you enjoy the game tonight, we look forward to bringing you a Miller Time moment of the game a little bit later on, brought to you by Miller Lite. 5 in a row and 9 of the last 10 set down by Jaime Garcia. Here's Cozart. Zach tonight is fly to left, line to left. Peralta throws it low, but scooped out by Carpenter down there playing first base. 2 out. Mentioned earlier, he has played some first base before. He's made 32 career starts down there, but only 2 since 2012. 1 in 2013 and 1 last year. Versatile player. Matt Carpenter. All-star this year, not as a first baseman, but 3rd time in his career he's been an all-star. Here's Votto. Against the shift right at the shortstop spot. It's Peralta who's playing there. That'll go down as a 5-3 putout, and 7 in a row by Garcia. Part of Super Saturdays this season at GABP. Saturday, August the 20th. Thanks to Toyota, the first 25,000 will receive a USA Reds t-shirt. A very attractive t-shirt, by the way. Show your USA pride when you see your Reds take on the Los Angeles Dodgers for only $12. For tickets, 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com. Anthony DeSclafani finished for the night. Tonight he goes 5, allows 3 runs, 6 hits. He walked 1, he struck out 5. DeSclafani had gone 6 or more in all but 2 of his starts this year. He's out. Josh Smith takes over as the new Reds pitcher here in the bottom of the 6th. DeSclafani throws 96 pitches in his 5 innings worth of work tonight. Josh Smith gets Molina to lead things off. Smith 1-1 with a .406. This marks his 20th appearance of the year. Moves him off the plate there, and now it's 2-2. Smith, part of a trend that we've seen out of the Reds bullpen, particularly in the last month or so, and that these guys come out of the bullpen and work more than 1 inning. I personally think it's great. He's gone 2 each of his last 2 times out, 3 innings, 3 times out ago against Arizona.
Well, you know, Josh Smith was one of those pitchers that now finds himself in the bullpen, but in the minor leagues, he was a starter. So not only do you have to get physically stretched out to go multiple innings, but you also have the mindset. That's much more important. I mean, throwing 30 pitches in 2 innings as opposed to 15 in 1 inning is no big physical strain, but it does make you keep your concentration more.
Took an off-speed pitch, got out in front of it, but hammered it by third, and that's going to bounce off the side wall. A fortuitous bounce out there for Duvall, and Molina is held to a single.
Hit very sharply right inside the third base bag. I would imagine Yadier Molina would like to have that part of the wall right there removed. I bet he hits that wall 20 times a year, and he turns doubles into singles.
He's aboard with the 7th hit. The batter, Johnny Peralta. Had that home run his last time. It was the 200th home run of his career. Now Smith falls behind. Peralta came up with Cleveland, had some time with Detroit before coming over here. More than half those home runs came as a member of the Cleveland Indians. His best year, He had 24 back in 2005. This year, an injury-plagued year, he has but 6. That left thumb ligament injury that occurred early in spring training, and another stint on the IL during the season, also due to that thumb injury. Full count now to the third baseman of the St. Louis Cardinals. Got him on a breaking ball down and away. That was a one-handed swing by Peralta. First out of the inning.
Josh Smith really has a nice slider. He stays on top of it. He shows it to you. That ball just came right out of his hand and just started cutting immediately.
One out for Jeremy Hazelbaker. Talked the other night about this guy making such a big splash early on in the season after spending, what, 7 or 8 years in the minor leagues without a sniff of big league action.
In fact, he didn't know until the very last day of spring training this year whether he was going to make the team or not. The Cardinals were in Tampa to play the New York Yankees, and all the Cardinals had dressed, they'd packed for to come north. It was the very last day of spring training. They were taking a flight out of Tampa from there that was going to take them to St. Louis or wherever they opened up the season. And Hazelbaker came into the clubhouse not knowing whether he was on the team or not. Now, he had packed just in case, you know, good clothes like suits and so on that are required to travel when you're in a major league team. But that day he had a great day at the plate, and he was awarded after he hit a 3-run home run and a 2-hit game and a 9-1 win over the Yankees. He made the ball club, and that's how he got to the big leagues.
He has been by and large with them all year. He did have a stint where he went down to AAA, also had a week's worth of time on the AAA disabled list, but he's been back here for almost a month now. In this game, he's 0 for 2 with a walk. The batter will be Greg Garcia. Garcia's lined out, flied out. He's 0 for 2. So again, the line on Red starter Anthony DeSclafani, 3 runs, 6 hits in 5 innings. He walked 1, he struck out 5, he threw 96 pitches. Cannot win, can only be the loser in this game. Votto stretching to his right will throw from his knees to Cozart to get the force out at second on Molina and put an end to the bottom of the 6th. Honda game summary as we enter inning number 7. This led off the game for Matt Carpenter. The 11th leadoff home run of his career made it 1-0 St. Louis. They added to that total in the 3rd on this double in the right by Brandon Moss that scored Carpenter, who had tripled earlier in the inning, and it was 2-0 in favor of the Cardinals. Reds get on the board here in the 4th inning. 2 out, nobody on. Suarez the other way, just over the wall in right. Home run number 18 for him, and it was 2-1 Cardinals. And then Johnny Peralta, the 200th home run of his career, gave it a 3-1 Cardinal lead. That was in the bottom of the 4th, and that's where we are now into the top of the 7th. Our Honda game summary, 3-1 Cardinals. Back to work, 7th inning with Adam Duvall leading it off is Jaime Garcia. So 8 innings of no-run, 3-hit baseball his last time out against the Braves. And in this game thus far, 6 innings of 3-hit, 1-run baseball. Trying to get his 9th win of the year. And he falls behind Duvall 2-0. Get into a forced play that ended the 1st. He struck out in the 4th, and he's now 1 for 8 in this series for Adam Duvall. Entered this game just hitting 200 since the All-Star break. Now he's at 3-0. Garcia due up first in the bottom of the 7th. Suarez on deck. He walked him on 4. The first walk of the night by Jaime Garcia is a 4-pitch pass that starts the 7th inning. Sure you're ready for Reds action 30 minutes before every game here on Fox Sports Ohio with Reds Live pregame presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Reds off tomorrow. Start a weekend series against the Milwaukee Brewers on Friday night. All 3 games right here on Fox Sports Ohio, or you can stream it live on Fox Sports Go. Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday afternoon at Miller Park in Milwaukee. And the return again of one Tom Brenneman.
Looking forward to having Tom back in the booth.
But I know very sorry to see me leave.
There's no doubt about that.
To right, and caught on the run out there. Nice job by Brandon Moss. We've talked about it before, but there's not much room at all down most of the lines in Major League ballparks into the corner. This is no exception. Moss stayed with it, made the catch.
Kind of handed to Suarez, though. I mean, his home run was to opposite field, right field, hit it over the head of Moss that time. This time Moss runs it as it slices away from him right near the line. Nice play and a good idea by Suarez.
Another batter is Tony Renda. '25-year-old Renda, drafted back in 2012 by the Washington Nationals. Traded in June of last year to the Yankees, and then in the offseason came over from the Yankees to the Reds in the Aroldis Chapman deal. Started at Pensacola, Double-A this year, moved up to Triple-A Louisville, where he hit .315 combined between the 2 spots. Of course, then made his major league debut against the Cardinals a week ago yesterday, back on the 2nd at home, when he laid down a bunt that originally was called a sacrifice and an error, later changed to a hit. AAA/AA numbers. Renda then had his first swinging base hit on Sunday in Pittsburgh against the Pirates. And a pinch hit appearance in the 7th, drove it into right, produced a run. Suarez scored as part of a 3-run 7th, as part of that 7-3 Reds win. So 2 big league hits, 1 RBI for Tony Renda. Hard toward right field. Moss on the run. He'll get there. And Duvall has to scamper back to the bag at first.
Well, back-to-back flyouts for Jaime Garcia here in the 7th inning, but prior to this inning, it seemed like he really wanted to live by the ground. Ground ball, that is. He had 4 consecutive ground balls to the shortstop. We'll take a look at his hit, or the out distribution, as we do from time to time, especially when a pitcher has a trend one way or another. 3 strikeouts, 12 groundouts, and now 7 flyouts if you include the 2 that are in this inning, I believe. Oh, that includes the 2 this inning.
So he's lived up to his reputation of being a ground ball guy. Here's Tyler Holt. He is twice grounded out. Mentioned he's making only his 2nd start since the middle of June. He just started home against the Cardinals in that recent series. That was his first start since June the 19th. Drove in that run last night, that double. He had come off the bench as part of a double switch. Doubled in the center field, producing a run, part of that 3-run 8th. His first RBI since June the 13th down in Atlanta. Finds himself quickly in the hole, 2 strikes here. Swings and misses. They'll throw him out at first. And the Reds got the runner on via the walk to lead off the inning, but nothing after that.
Often we show you a fan that makes a catch in the stands while he's holding a beer or his food and doesn't spill it at all, maybe even holding a child. Well, then there are guys that are just the opposite. Let's take you to Pittsburgh and watch this guy. Not only does he not come up with the ball, but yikes, he ends up wearing his food all over his face, all over his shirt. Just a very unfortunate moment, but the Pirates came to the rescue. They brought him a new shirt. So He goes home with a new shirt at least.
And it fits. How about that? Boy, oh boy, that had to be embarrassing right there. I could see myself doing that.
I was going to say, you might be embarrassed. He didn't seem like it bothered him very much.
No, he didn't, did he?
He got a new T-shirt out of the deal. What happened to the pizza, though?
Still eat that and scrape it off his face. Have at it. Well, that nacho cheese and chili. Miller Lite went sailing also. Garcia still in there batting for himself here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Cardinals up 3-1. He has been as advertised, has he not, tonight? I mean, he's been very good. He's only thrown 73 pitches tonight. He had an 8-pitch inning in the 7th. 73 pitches. He's looking for back-to-back 8-inning outings,
which nowadays is a rarity.
Unheard of. Second inning of work for Josh Smith. Worked around the leadoff single by Molina in the 6th. Trying to get the leadoff man here in the 7th. And cannot do it. He walks the pitcher, who's on for the 2nd time tonight. Reds fans, enjoy a fun day at the ballpark coming up on Saturday, September the 3rd, with a special post-game concert featuring country music artist Chase Rice. For as low as $32, you get a ticket to the game, a Reds trucker hat, and the opportunity to enjoy the concert from the field. Purchase today at Reds.com/Chase Wright. That's a Saturday game. That's an afternoon game. 4:10 start, and then the concert afterwards. Should be a good night at the ballpark. And Carpenter for the 4th time tonight. Pushing that 300 mark, Matt Carpenter. A little above his career average coming into this game. He's a career .288 hitter. One 300+ year in his career. Further action out on the Reds bullpen. Jumbo Diaz is throwing. Cardinal pen been quiet tonight. Raisel Iglesias, we've done a lot of talking lately about him as well after that save in the game last night, his first major league save, and he reiterated something we've heard him say before, and that is he wants to be, would love to be the closer on this team this year and into the future. You like him as a starter?
I do, for a couple of different reasons. Number one, financially, the amount of money that the Reds have promised to pay Raisel Iglesias is starter type money. And number two, I think that he has the type of tools, I mean, the weapons that he takes with him on the mound to retire batters that you find in top starters, top of the rotation starters. And those guys don't come along very often.
I guess the question that everyone is asking is, does he have the physical build to be able to withstand 175 to 200 innings a year?
I'm not so sure it's the build. I think it's right there. Will the shoulder hold up? I mean, because he's a bigger guy than Pedro Martinez. And as I recall, Martinez went to Cooperstown last year.
You recall correctly.
And he's a bigger guy than Tommy Glavine. And I think he's a bigger guy than Greg Maddux. So I don't buy into the brawn part of it. I buy into the fact whether his shoulder can maintain, the strength, and he can stay healthy. Interesting, really, today the Cardinals put on the disabled list Michael Wacha. And, well, they did it yesterday. They recalled a player today who was going to pitch for him. But actually, when they brought up the kid who pitched yet last night. But the point I'm trying to make is that the Cardinals and the general manager said today that they may have to look at how they're going to handle Wacha in the future. He may end up in the bullpen because he's had so many different arm problems, especially centered around that shoulder, that he may not be able to handle the stress of starting. So you got to find where everybody reaches their level. I imagine that Wacha, if he had his choice, he would be a starter. He's been very good throughout a very young career. Hopefully he will be okay.
Way up in the air, near the mound. Who's going to get this ball? It will be the sure-handed Cozart who makes the play. Out number one. Yeah, so we saw their prized prospect in Alex Reyes last night, and they brought up another hard thrower, Luke Weaver, who's going to start Saturday in Chicago for them, make his big league debut. They talked about using Reyes out of the bullpen this year, that they have done that, talking about the Cardinals a lot over the course of the years. First year in the big leagues for certain pitchers have been out of the bullpen. They've then made the transition to the starting role. The most notable of which has been Adam Wainwright, who was the closer back in the '06 when they won the World Series, and then turned into a starter after that. Long 0 for 3 tonight. A pair of strikeouts, and he's hit into a ground out. Smith trying to turn in 2 innings with a shutout relief. He'll be pinch hit for in the 8th inning. He's due up second. Oh, that one's going to get into right. Garcia looked up at Chris Maloney at third with an idea about maybe going over there, but he is held at second base. Second hit against Smith, 8th for the Cardinals in the game. Now it's Brandon Moss. This is a huge part of the game right now, with the Cardinals up by a pair. And the Reds killing Moss at the plate. Brian Price on his way to the mound. He's had Jumbo Diaz throwing. Jumbo was in the game here on Monday night. That's going to be it for Josh Smith. So Josh makes it through an inning and a third in relief of the starter DeSclafani. He's out. Jumbo Diaz will in a moment start to jog in. There he goes. Our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen.
broadcast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
New pitcher on, third of the night for the Reds is Jumbo Diaz. He's going to be asked to get the left-hander Brandon Moss, and then Matt Holliday. 2 on, 1 out, bottom of the 7th. Cardinals up by a pair at 3-1. How's Jumbo done against left-handers this year? They're hitting only 179 against him. And Brian Price was talking a lot about this today in terms of pitching matchups. The traditional lefty-lefty, righty-righty isn't always the way you go anymore. You really get more in depth into the numbers. It's a good example with Diaz having an average against of just 179 against lefties, but 282 against righties.
Managers who don't have left-handers in their bullpen say that all the time.
Well, he has the one. So you can't argue with 179. Barnhart. There he gets the lefty to Jumbo, and there are 2 out. Now a tougher time with Matt Holliday up there. Jumbo did not face Holliday on Monday. Holliday 2 for 4 against this right-hander lifetime. Trying to keep it a 2-run game in the bottom of the 7th. To third, Suarez, and he throws him out. And a nice job by Jumbo Diaz to come in and get Moss and Holliday and put an end to the 7th. Jaime Garcia goes back to the mound here in the 8th inning. Only a 2-run game at 3-1. Another big crowd of over 40,000 here at Busch. They've had a big crowd each night the Reds have been here. 40,019 here tonight. And Garcia, only one time in his career has gone back-to-back 8-inning outings. He did it back in 2013. One of those was against the Reds. He's only thrown 73 pitches tonight. He's back out there for the 8th here.
Well, that's exactly how many innings he went his last time out, Garcia. When he faced the Atlanta Braves, he really got off the schneid. He had a series of games there where he really hadn't pitched all that well. In fact, the Cardinals' starting rotation has been somewhat underperforming, at least at the standards that they had expected from this rotation at the beginning of the year.
Barnhart leads it off. That's going to be a base hit. That's going to be an extra base hit. It's going to be fan interference. That'll be a double for Barnhart. And for Tucker Barnhart, who had been 0 for 2, he now has hit in 8 games in a row, and that is a new career high in terms of a hitting streak for Barnhart.
It's unusual, really, for a team like the Reds or for any team to have 2 switch-hitting catchers on their roster. That's what the Reds have with Barnhart and Ramon Cabrera.
So Ivan DeJesus Jr. will bat for Jumbo Diaz, who went 2/3 of an inning, retired both batters that he faced. DeJesus represents the tying run. Blake Wood is throwing in the Reds' pen. Peralta looks the runner back and gets the pinch hitter. 1 pitch, and he gets DeJesus here for out number 1. Top of the order, and Billy Hamilton. We talked about the fact that Billy had tremendous numbers in the 14 wins in which the Reds have produced since the All-Star break. Reds 14-9, other than the Cubs, second best record in the National League since the break. Billy a big catalyst in those wins, but tonight he's been quiet. Smash to third. Peralta gets it, spins, and throws him out. Nice play. Veteran Johnny Peralta.
Well, you really never know what happens after this. If this ball gets by Peralta, this could be maybe not a game changer, but certainly an inning changer right there. An easy double would have scored Barnhart from second base. Would have made it a 1-run ball game with Billy Hamilton on second. That's a big time play.
Yeah, Barnhart was at second base with nobody out. He's there now with 2 out. Cozart has been sitting on 15 home runs for a while now. Represents the tying run here in the 8th in his 3-1 game.
Garcia has given up now 13 home runs, including the one that Suarez hit off of him earlier this game. And 12 of those 13 have come off the bat of right-handed hitters.
Toward the hole, Garcia backhand pick and throw, and out at first. Matt Carpenter looks like he plays over there every day. That's a tremendous pick on that short hop throw. He dug it out of the dirt. Reds will take a look to be sure, but it appeared as if Carpenter made the play. They retire Cozart and end the top of the 8th inning. Tonight's Miller Time moment of the night, brought to you by Miller Lite, turned in his first big league start by Tony Renda, diving behind the bag at second base when that ball hit by Holiday in the 5th inning. Got up, threw to first in time to retire Holiday, put an end to the bottom of the 5th. That came with runners at the corners and 2 men out. He is credited with our Miller Time moment of the night right there. Congratulations, Tony Renda, on a terrific play. Blake Wood, the new pitcher, 4th of the night by Cincinnati. Josh Smith, an inning and a third, no runs, 2 hits. Jumbo Diaz, 2/3. Blake Wood now. His task is to get Molina, Peralta, Hazelbaker, keep this a 2-run game heading into the 9th. Reds have been shut down tonight by Jaime Garcia, who's now gone back-to-back 8-inning outings for the first time since 2013 and only the 2nd time in his career. Molina tonight 1 for 3.
So Blake Wood, with his delivery, even though he pitches out of the stretch exclusively, gives a hitter a lot to try to be distracted with. He tilts his shoulders, he turns his body, he kind of flashes his glove side arm, and there's a lot of moving parts going on. And he throws in the high 90s. But all that movement sometimes lends itself to being somewhat inconsistent with your command. He's able to get by with a lot of mistakes because he throws so hard. He's got such a tight breaking ball. Gets that grip on that split finger fastball before every pitch, and then he changes the grip from there.
He's gone full to the leadoff man here in the bottom of the 8th. 50th appearance for Wood this year. That marks the first time since 2012 that he has worked 50 times in a big league season. Suarez to his left will throw out Molina. That's the first out of the inning. Reds in their 9th will have Votto, Duvall, Suarez. Anyone should reach Renda. Cardinal bullpen has been quiet. Garcia's thrown 78 pitches through 8 innings tonight. Well within his range to try to get the complete game. He has 4 complete games in his career. 1 this year. He had a 1-hit shutout in a victory against the Brewers here back on the 14th of April. Complete game shutout this year. It looks like have the opportunity to do that in the 9th inning here tonight. Not the shutout, but the complete game. Peralta, a strikeout victim. 2 up, 2 down against Wood.
Or downward break on that. Sometimes that ball goes down so much you're not sure if it was a splitter or a slider.
Here's Jeremy Hazelbaker with 2 men out. And he slaps one inside the line at third. Headed toward the corner. Long run out there for Duvall. Going to be a double for Hazelbaker. A 2-out, 2-base hit for St. Louis gives them their 9th hit of this game. An opportunity to add to the 3-1 lead.
Slapping the other way and intending to do so.
That gives Greg Garcia the opportunity. 0 for 3 in this game, 0 for 5 in the series. Gives an old-time Cardinal look going with those socks. Some of the walls here at the ballpark lined with old team pictures. There's some beauties with the Cardinals wearing that high pants, striped sock look just like that.
Yeah, but did those old socks have stirrups? And those are just tube socks.
Yeah, those old socks did have stirrups. Yeah. You're right. Those look like it, though. This generation of fans really is used to the look, not that look. You don't see the stirrups there like we were talking about. They're used to the look that Blake Wood has going. The extra long, all the way down by the shoe, almost dragging the ground look.
Well, the dress pants that the players are wearing now, and they're all wearing designer suits. You know, they're very tight. The pants are short. There's a lot of sock showing if you're wearing socks. Sometimes you're seeing whole ankles, bare ankles, and nice shoes. Whereas the baseball pants, for the most part, are still baggy and long. Maybe the baseball pants will catch up with the times pretty soon.
It's all cyclical, isn't it? Garcia, a strikeout victim. Nice work by Blake Wood in the bottom of the 8th, and so the stage is set for the 9th inning with Votto leading it off. Legends tee off at the 37th U.S. Senior Open, live from Scioto Country Club in Columbus, Ohio. Coverage begins tomorrow at 2 Eastern on FS1, or watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Off day tomorrow, a lot of golf fans, Chris being one of them, Marty being another, Jeff Brantley being another, Jim Day another. Probably be watching some of that U.S. Senior Open tomorrow. Changes for the Cardinals. Stephen Piscotty comes in, takes over in right field. Brandon Moss moves to left field. Holiday out of the game. No change on the mound. Jaime Garcia gunning for his 5th career complete game. 2nd of the year. Cardinals have one other this year. Adam Wainwright had a complete game 16th of July against the Miami Marlins. Here's Garcia trying to get it done. Votto leading it off. Hammers it toward left field. Chased out there, not going to get it. It's going to bounce off the wall. That is a ground rule double for Joey Votto, and the first pitch he sees in the ninth from Jaime Garcia.
Well, Jaime Garcia has not allowed all that many hard hit balls on the night. Votto gets a fastball first pitch. Second time he has struck the ball very solidly. Had a base hit in the first inning right back through the box, and that one bounces off the signage that is behind the outfield wall. So a rule book double gets it going here for the Reds in the ninth.
Sun-Hwan Oh, the closer of the Cardinals, is up and throwing in the bullpen. Now it's Duvall. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. Reds have had 2 complete games thrown against them this year. One we mentioned last night, the Jake Arrieta no-hitter. The other was out in Los Angeles on the 23rd of May. That was the 2-hitter and the 1-0 win by Clayton Kershaw. That was a dual complete game night. Brandon Finnegan had a complete game in that one also. Hard hit and foul. Duvall very capable, with the Reds down a pair at 3-1 of tying this game with one swing. He has a team leading 26 home runs. That's 5th in the National League. 74 RBIs, tied for 6th in the league. But as we mentioned earlier, his pace in the second half has been slower than his pace in the first half. 2-2. Wouldn't the Reds love to do tonight to the Cardinals what the Cardinals did to the Reds on Monday? Not that they would exactly be the same in terms of how they do it, but come from behind in the ninth inning. And in this case, it would be to take the lead. Reds won 6 consecutive series after the break. Lost 2 of 3 in Pittsburgh prior to coming here. Trying to avoid back-to-back series losses after winning those 6 in a row. Ripped into left field by Duvall. Votto was going back towards second when the ball was hit, so he'll advance only to third, and the tying runs are all with nobody out here in the ninth inning.
Now that's got to be it, you would imagine, for Jaime Garcia. And there's Mike Matheny definitely taking him out with Suarez, who's already hit a home run off of him, due up.
Already a big round of applause for Garcia. They know his night is finished. So does he, as Mike Matheny makes it to the mound. Sun-Hwan Oh inherited the closing role for this Cardinal club with Trevor Rosenthal on the disabled list. Will enter this game here. Try to close it out. Man to face soon 1-0. In fact, he had a big blow in this game. Came back in the 4th inning. A home run, his 18th of the year. That made it a 2-1 game in favor of the Cardinals. That's tonight's Volkswagen drive of the game by Eugenio Suarez, and he'll be the man on the spot here in the top of the 9th inning with Reds runners at the corners and nobody out against the closer of this Cardinal club.
He's only had 3 bad games all year long. O has 2 times against the Chicago Cubs and once against the Reds. That was a tremendous comeback the Reds had. Scott Schebler topped it off. 7-5 win. When O gave up 3 runs in an inning and a third.
Hard hit to third. They'll go to second and get 1. Go to first and get 2. Votto will score. Boy, the momentum of this 9th inning drained right out of the ballpark for the Reds on that first pitch swing by Eugenio Suarez. The end result, a double play.
You certainly can't blame Suarez. He had a good pitch to hit. He put a good swing on it, and he hit it sharply, but unfortunately right at the third baseman. I mean, he is right on it. I'll tell you one thing tonight, the Cardinals have played outstanding defense. The plays that they made in the 8th inning were just incredible.
Now the last gasp is Tony Renda. O has 9 saves this year, gunning for number 10. Ball and a strike to Renda, who's 0 for 3 at the ball hard as last time, but out. A 3-2 game. Tyler Holt waits on deck. Nasty slider there, 1-2. Got it. Renda strikes out. O comes in, gets the job done. The Cardinals take 2 out of 3 in the series as they win this one by a run. The final score 3-2 St. Louis. Well, that's what you like out of your closer right there. Quick and efficient. 3-2, the Cardinals win it. We'll come back with more in a moment.